Rock Solid Radio wants to thank Maxwell Construction, who has been our sponsor since the very beginning. For over 30 years, Maxwell has delivered the highest quality projects by holding to their core values of customer satisfaction, positive attitude, respect, and excellence. So if you have any kind of commercial construction need, give Maxwell Construction a call today at 812-537-2200. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Rock Solid Radio. We are excited you've joined us either by video or on YouTube or audio on one of our podcast platforms. And I'm Linda Hutchinson, and I am sitting here with my one and only, my best friend, my lover. And if you're listening instead of watching, it's Merrill, my husband.
Merrill.
And we pushed record this time.
Yeah, technical difficulties. Wait, what are you doing sweet talking me again? Hun, start. I've gone back through and listened. And if you don't notice, we take turns starting the show. Mm-hmm. And I usually start with a lovey-dovey or whatever, and then we get into being silly or whatever. And Linda, you always start with this. Like you're trying to swoo me or something, because I always get the feeling that you're getting ready to ask something of me.
What? No.
What are you going to throw at me today?
No. So I'm trying to do better with my words, because last week's show was really convicting me. We did a show last week. If you haven't listened, go back and listen. It was really good about words matter. And honestly, as we did that show, I just realized I need to get better at that. And so the way I talk to you, my attitude, honey, it honestly, it could breathe life into a relationship, or it can bring death.
Well, hon, I'd like to say that you do need to get better at that, but that would be a bad way to use words. We all need to get better at that. And I need to get better. We all do. Hon, we did that show purposefully because, one, we see what bad words, using language and communication poorly, we see what happens in the marriage with it. We see what happens in parenting with it. And we just have to be honest. We see what happens on a world stage in this country when people act like they don't matter. And we went down that road of, we've been able to be so much less accountable for our words and our language because of screens and things that don't make me have to confront. And the fallout of that has been really pretty heavy. And people are hurt and people are angry and divisiveness has grown. So a lot of that topic, though, is actually going to kind of dovetail into what we're talking about today.
Yeah, because we're really going to specifically drill down into what that looks like in a marriage situation when our words are really bringing death into a relationship, and the predictors of divorce. We're going to see come a lot of it out of our words. And so, but before we get into that, it's going to be a tough show, but we need to pay some bills.
Yeah, let's do that. So we want to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions. Casey has come along and just been, we know Casey, he's a great guy, great community guy, a big heart for just trying to do what he can to make the community better. And he sees Rock Solid Families and Rock Solid Radio as a way to help make the community better. So we appreciate that very much. So Casey's, thank you. And so for all your outdoor needs, go out and see Casey as he can make your yard look beautiful.
We also want to thank Maxwell Construction that has been with us since the very beginning. So those sponsors are why we are here, the ability to do what we do because of them. So we thank them. But today's show, hun, like we said, is a tough one. And so if it's going to really trigger some things for you, if it really touches on a nerve or it steps on your toes, I really encourage you to get some professional help, whether it's us at Rock Solid Families or if it's someone in your local area. Please don't just sit on this or ignore it. There's a reason why you're listening today or watching today, and we really encourage you to follow up.
If it's a tough show, it's because you're already hurting. If it's an interesting show, it's because you don't want to hurt. And so if you listen to this and it is tough, recognize the hurt. And like Linda said, reach out to us, get some help. Whoever it is, if they're somebody that you can trust, reach out. Our number is 812-576-7625. You can also get a hold of us at rocksolidfamilies.org on our contact page, and you can ask for appointments and things like that.
But, we know, Hun, that our rocksolidfamilies.org page gets hit from all over the world, not just the United States. And so there might be someone listening in another country thinking, well, that's going to do me a lot of good. West Harrison, Indiana really isn't close, but thanks to the World Wide Web, there's the opportunity to connect even, when it's across the globe.
Yeah, last week we were talking bad about the web.
Well,
so there is benefit to it.
Well, we said last week even, though, that it's not.
It's not the web, is it?
It's not the evil. It's what we do with it.
That's right.
So,
that personal responsibility side of it again. Also, we just ask, if the show is of value, if it's interesting to you, if you see somebody that could use the information or could benefit in some way, please share our shows. You guys are our best advertisement. The word of mouth, the encouragement that you give by using our stuff. We are just people out there trying to get the job done of helping families. And if you think that it's working, help share the show. Give us 5-star ratings on any of the platforms that you use. Those are things that help boost the opportunity for more people to hear and see what we're doing. So we appreciate that. We do nothing unless you guys are there to support it.
And I'm really proud of our listeners and our clients who have done an amazing job at that. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have said, so-and-so sent me to you, or so-and-so gave me this show to watch or listen to.
Yeah.
So, Hun, but today we're going to be talking about the research that is behind the predictors of divorce. And with 90% accuracy, which is crazy that they can do this, they can predict when a couple is going to succeed and be a master at their relationship or a disaster.
And I hear what you're saying. Like when you hear that, like we can actually predict where somebody is in terms of heading to the divorce. You and I can do that. We do that. We've never put numbers on it.
And we really never said that.
And we've never said it. But what happens is, because we've worked with couples for so long, we talk and we go, this doesn't look good.
Yeah.
We're seeing things that we know are red flags.
Yeah.
And I think the important part for us is this research is really just the validity that makes us go, okay, this is rock solid stuff in terms of us understanding how to help, but it's also helpful when you recognize it. I mean, the best thing would be is if you can help diagnose or recognize when you're seeing some of these predictors.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if your eyes are wide open to the train wreck ahead of you, maybe you'll take a different turn.
Right.
And so this research started over 40 years ago, and I actually studied this research 20 years ago. And so it was halfway in, and so it was started by a psychology professor by the name of Dr. John Gottman, and he and a buddy started a lab, what they call it the Love Lab. Now it's called the Gottman Institute.
I'm going to say, don't... That sounds like a reality show
I know,
or something.
It sounds like Big Brother or something,
right.
But no, they started this and they would ask couples to come in and spend part of their day in this research lab. And so they followed these couples for 30 to 40 years. And so they have an amazing amount, thousands and thousands of couples that they have studied and continue to study. And they found some different dynamics in their words, in their heart rate, their body language, their responses that really predicted whether or not a couple was going to be thriving or dying. And so they literally called them two categories, the masters and the disasters. So
the masters being the people who do it well.
Yes.
And the disasters, those who are we're going to be talking about the red flags, the predictors.
They're not even married anymore. So
we're
going to focus on the disasters today. And, they found themselves either divorced or miserable. Okay, they would come back to Gottman year after year and they would be miserable. They'd be staying together. And so that was very interesting dynamic too to study as to why you're still together if you're miserable.
Right.
And so we're going to be talking about those.
Well, and part of it, in mentioning that, Hun, is today we are going to tackle and try to make more evident the predictors, the red flags. Okay, so we're not going to leave you hanging. We're not going to leave you hanging. However, we don't want to put it all in one show.
Yeah.
Just because it's just the bigness of it all.
The bigness?
Yeah, that's that means really big. Okay, that's really big.
Okay.
And so our next show that we're going to do is going to be, okay, so now what do you do with it? How do you counter those predictors or those red flags? There are remedies to every single one of them, okay? And so if we can know like what to do, recognizing it is one thing, okay? Oh, I've got a flat tire in my car. Knowing how to change the tire is really where we've got to get to work. So
Which I don't.
Today is you're diagnosing the flat tire.
Yeah, and I don't know how to change a flat tire. I know you've
That's
wanted
why
to.
you've got me, honey, or AAA.
Yeah, exactly. So we want to help you. We're not sitting here leaving you hanging, like he said, Merrill said. This is really to kind of open our eyes and to really be able to get us in a different place where everything is on our radar, whether it be in our relationship or someone else's that's important to us. So here we go.
Let's roll.
So I would encourage you to grab a piece of paper and a pen. I think we ask them to do that a lot. So it's kind of like we don't want this.
So I know what happens. The ladies who are diligent have a paper already ready, and the guys go, "You going to write this down or not?"
Actually, you and I, we've given our videos and our podcast as homework, and we'll say, hey, we're going to be talking about this next week, so write this down because we're going to be, it's like priming the pump.
I had a couple fail yesterday. I said, okay, tell me about your homework, and they both looked at each other and went, uh-oh. Oh, we failed. We had a good time with that.
Yeah. So the first predictor that Gottman found couples as they studied them over 30, 40 years was for the disasters was that they were very critical with their partner. So criticism would be the first thing to write down. And so there's a big difference, hon, because you and I, we've had tons of experiences in our marriage, 33, 34 years of marriage that I've complained or criticized you. Okay.
You're not reading my language at all.
Stop it. But there's a big difference of correcting and criticizing, and then this criticism that is constant and chronic that really gets down to more of a character defect that you're complaining about instead of like, hey, you didn't hang up your coat. It's you never hang up your coat. You always are a slob. It's kind of like getting down to the core.
Frequency has a lot to do with it too. Being critical once in a while is just kind of like, well, we can go with that. But when everything is viewed through a critical eye, eventually one of the folks in the relationship, and the one that's mostly being criticized, will say, can I do anything right?
Yeah.
Can I do anything right? And this goes also into parenting. Are we always on the other person's rear end because they don't live up to what we think they're supposed to be living up to? And so, we wake up and we have a critical word. We're always looking at the dark side of things, and it just is fatiguing. And, people make a decision on how they're going to handle it, whether they either confront it and come back with anger, or they shut down, they withdraw. But you being critical is not going to help another person grow.
Yeah. And we talked about this last week on Words Matter, that those superlative words of always and never, when you look at a child and say, you always screw this up, or you never do this right, those things stick with kids, and it's hard for them as they grow to not be able to forget those. So,
and I'm going to say on the line of criticism, because sometimes we disguise our criticism, and you and I were good at this. We disguise our criticism in sarcasm, and the sarcasm is us trying to kind of put the knife in just a little bit, but we want to get a message across, but we're going to act like we're doing it in a joking way.
I was going to say, sometimes it was just to get a laugh.
Right, and try to get a laugh at the expense of the other. And, hon, we got called out on this in a big way early in our work with marriages. Yeah. We got called out, and we both looked at each other like, oh, we are so guilty here.
Yeah. It was, we used to do premarital counseling for the Archdiocese of Indianapolis, and we worked with couples for weekend retreats. And we did that for years, and we would always have an evaluation, and we got great reviews. I mean, they loved it. They thought it was fun, and they learned things, and, we thought we were killing it, right? And we had some fun with our couples, and I think they did learn a lot, but there was occasional where our sarcasm went too far, and we had one young couple.
Towards each other,
yes,
not
toward
them.
each other, absolutely. But for the sake of a laugh or to get the point across, And we had one couple in their evaluation that literally said that it sounded like we weren't even married.
Yeah. Do you guys even love each other?
Yeah.
Because the way we would kind of say we were just bantering back and forth, having fun. But we have to be honest here. A lot of it wasn't fun, but there's always this little undertone of a message that you're trying to get across to your spouse. And either the two of you have not recognized how you will actually solve it or how it will actually land with the other person. And so this is just your way of kind of skirting the message in. And we had to have a serious sit down with each other and say, when something's bothering us, we need to come straight out and have the discussion. But the only way you can have that discussion is to actually drop your guard. So anyway, that sarcasm is part of that criticism.
So if you were that young couple that gave us that evaluation probably 25 years ago, thank you, because it was an eye-opener of, man, we were crossing that line and going too far. And we probably were having a bad day that day, and we had done this for years. And so we'll be talking about next week about how to handle those conflicts that come before they blow up to really our second predictor, which, by the way, Gottman would say is the best predictor of divorce. And that is when criticism turns into contempt. So that's your number 2 is contempt. Or disrespect, which, by the way, hon, can I just tell you, this is where our culture is right now. Not just in marriages, but with children, with employees, with our authority figures in our life. We have spoken to them and we speak to them with contempt.
Right. And so, I mean, what is contempt? And we have to kind of wrap our head around this a little bit like in the marriage. Contempt, the way we see it often is somebody has been not happy or hurt over time, and they start to have a very dark feeling and thought when that person is around. They don't really want to be around that person. They don't like that person. And here's what starts to happen. They keep looking now for everything that's wrong.
Yeah.
I'll give you a perfect example of this. How this is human nature, okay? So here we are politically. We just changed from a Republican to a Democrat.
Depending on when you're listening to this.
Right. And so the folks who have contempt in their heart are already trying to see what the other side, in this case the Democratic side,
wrong.
what they're going to do wrong. And so that is going to lead. That's why we are divorcing as a country right now. And this is nothing, this is not breaking science here, but this is human nature. And so as Linda said earlier, contempt is one of the very first things we see, that when you've been criticized, you've been hurt, and now there's no letting go. And so everything that person says, you go, oh, yeah, right, right.
Malicious sarcasm, eye-rolling, name-calling, disrespect, hostility, mocking, all of these things get ugly. And by the way, your political stance is one thing, but what are your kids seeing? What are they seeing you post? What are they seeing you say? How do they see you act? When you do that toward anyone, it doesn't have to be your spouse. It could be a child. It could be a boss. It could be a president. It could be a police officer. You are showing them, you're modeling for them this idea of contempt.
Yeah.
You gotta be so careful.
So, yeah, and recognize it, man. We see it in ourselves all the time. You just, the eye rolling, hun, is such a big one. We're sitting there in a counseling session, and I'm listening to maybe the gentleman speak, and all of a sudden I feel the eyes roll out of their spouse, and I look over there, and I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna have to hover around this one for a while.
Exactly. We're not letting that go. Which, by the way, Gottman would say that if you have this criticism and contempt, these two things alone will probably get you only to about 5 or 7 years in a marriage, because you can only take so much. You don't want to be the whipping post forever. And so we're going to see that start to become, irreconcilable. That's where that irreconcilable differences come from, where you're just like, I can't take this contempt anymore. I can't stand to walk on eggshells and to feel like I'm under the microscope everywhere I go. And so we see this as being really the two things that, really drive into divorce. But then we have a reaction part. So this is number 3.
Yeah. So the reaction part is, you have to kind of remember, these things don't just all happen one day. They kind of grow. And so what people start to do is, as Linda said, that third predictor is defensiveness. And defensiveness takes on all kinds of different looks, okay? So the defensiveness just basically means, okay, I've had enough of this.
Yes.
This is breaking me down. It's wearing me down. I don't want to experience it anymore. And so we start using whatever our personality is to show that we are going to defend ourselves. That can be everything from, okay, I've had enough, and I slam my fist, and I actually that's where arguments come from.
I've had that before.
Yeah, and so that's
not me.
Not
personally.
out of me.
No. But
what are you talking about? I've never done that to you.
Holy cow! You better change that mic. No, yes, I've had that talked about in a counseling session before.
Right, but
holes.
So often, hon, we don't see it out loud like that. We see a different nature, especially because this was a person that I committed to and I said I loved, and I probably have had children with. And so ugly is not what I want in the house. And so often the defensiveness comes in different ways. So a lion might go out and attack the prey. A turtle will go into its shell. Both of them are defensive mechanisms. And so we see different levels of that defensiveness depending on personality that will come out. And it's very important that you say, okay, wait, am I just sort of withdrawing? Am I being quiet even though there's a lot going on in here? Am I and this happens frequently, am I avoiding coming home? Am I avoiding time with my partner?
That's getting into the fourth one. We don't want to go way into the fourth one, but this defensiveness can come off as righteous indignation, where you literally make it their problem. That if they only listened to you or did it your way, everything would be fine. And so you kind of point the finger of you're the problem. Or you could be that innocent victim. And hon, I thought you're going to bring up tears, because that was mine. I would tear up to try to get you to feel guilty, to stop wherever this conversation was going. I didn't actually even try it.
Because that would be manipulative.
Yeah.
So
not that I tried it. But
it's not trying. It's, again, we usually attack or defend based off of personalities. And so your personality is one that you're hurt. And so you are emotional. And so the tears come. I take that. So initially, when we were just dating, I'd see tears and be like, oh, man, And then as we got deeper into the marriage and I kind of understood more, when I'd see tears, I'd get mad. Because I'd be like, oh, that's like throwing a punch at me when I would see the tears. And so
that wasn't intentional, but that's what
But my response to it wasn't good either, because then I would you would be crying, and I'd be like, don't be,
Right. So, but I need to own my part. Even if I'm hurt and I do cry, I've got to really be reflective on, okay, is there any truth to this? Is there something that I need to be taking ownership for, or admit that I did wrong? And so you can't just be defensive and put your hand out and say, it's you, and put your fingers in your ear saying, no, not listening. So, which really leads to that fourth one that I think you were kind of alluding to.
Yeah, so the fourth one is kind of, this is amazing how long people can stay here.
Holy
So the
cow.
fourth one is stonewalling.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've kind of resigned to the idea, okay, I guess this is what it is. So you've taken on your defensive stance, and you're really in your mind thinking, well, how long can I do this?
Yeah, go in your shell.
You hover for protection, okay? So stonewalling, hon, these are these couples that we get that come in. And I think when we first started working with couples, and I'm talking, 20 years ago, I really don't know if I could have understood how somebody could live together for 20 or 30 years and not like each other very much. And be miserable. But we see it all the time.
Yeah.
Because the alternative's not very good either. And the alternative could be, gosh, we'd be lost. The home, the economic.
I was going to say, what I hear? Do you know what I hear? This is really sad. I hear couples that will come in and I'll ask them why. Why did you not do anything about this? Because I didn't want to lose half of my 401k. Like literally, we had been in this marriage so long that financially I'd be hurt.
And that's a reality.
It's a reality, but it's a sad reality for not moving. And I'm not saying divorce, but
getting help.
Getting help. Yeah, for sure.
So what does stonewalling look like? What are some of the red flags that we see with stonewalling? Okay, what does that look like for you in your marriage? I see one that we call out frequently, and it's kind of well, it could go long term, but it's one of the early phases that I see, and it's called silent treatment. Silent treatment is an early stage, and it can keep going all the way through the stages, but silent treatment is one that when I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I'm not going to change. You're not going to change. I'm going to lock down.
They just don't talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, emotionally, they just shut down and they disconnect from their spouse. They may even physically move to a different bedroom. Maybe it's been years since they've had sex or any kind of physical intimacy, because God forbid they'd want to get close to one another and be vulnerable with one another. So they've worried and been concerned about being hurt so badly, or maybe they have hurt so much they don't think there's any turning back, and so they feel like this is all it is. This is as good as it's going to get.
And our listeners out there, our viewers, you got to hear this, because this is what I see. This is the male perspective of things. 85% of the time, stonewalling comes from the man.
Yeah.
Okay. The long-term stonewaller, it comes from the man. And there's a reason for that. Okay. It's not because he's a jerk or he's mean or anything like that. And we've talked about this in so many shows. Most good men that I know do not want to fight. No. They don't want to fight a lady. Okay, they don't want to fight their wife. They don't come in guns a-blazing.
But they feel their emotions starting to work up, right?
They feel that, and they don't know how to handle it very well, and they go to what they're good at. And so, you know what? If I'm a construction dude, I'm going to go out and build houses all day. You figure this part about home. And so they start to drift from each other. And so it's more of a avoidance. I don't know how to deal with this. I can't wrap my head around it. So I'll just go do what I do. And we've talked about this before. One of these days, we're going to do a whole show on man caves and she sheds. On the surface, they sound fun and everything, but man, those are dangerous places. Yeah. When we're talking about somebody that's gotten to a place of stonewalling.
Now everyone out there that has a she shed or a man cave is worried now. So
hey, it's the she shed or the man cave is not good or bad.
Right, just
it's
like the
how
internet.
we use it.
Exactly.
And so if we are irresponsible with it or using it in the wrong ways, it will be a place of contempt building.
Yeah. And I've actually had this from some of my clients, and maybe you've heard it before from your spouse. When they see things like, I just feel like I have a roommate, or I feel like you're more like a business partner. That's a red flag.
Yeah.
Your partner's saying, I don't like this relationship as it is right now. I don't like the status of our communication and our connection and our intimacy. And so take that seriously and get some help, because there is something beautiful on the other side that can happen.
Right. So the 4 red flags, or the predictors that we're talking about today, they are just, I want to make sure that I don't mess them up: criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. Yeah. So we covered all those 4 areas, and those things then kind of trickle out, and they look a little different maybe in different relationships based off of personality and past experience. But those are the things that you really want to start looking for, and that's going to kind of lead us into our challenge.
Yeah. So, wow, I know this was a heavy show, but this is why Rock Solid Families exist. I mean, we believe that God is bigger than any of these predictors, any of these stressors you've had, any of these storms you've experienced in your life, and that there is hope and help available for those that are willing to get it.
Right. So the idea here is recognizing the challenge, start to wrap. So you're going to be doing some self-analysis here, some couple analysis.
Yeah.
You need to be very honest with this. I don't even know that this is a good time that you immediately have a couple conversation about it. You first have to perceive it yourself and go, okay, wait, what about me? What am I seeing? And hopefully then you can come together and have a willing partner to say, you know what, I've kind of recognized some of that as well. That's what we're going to then start to get into next week when we say, okay, how do we start to iron this out? And but don't listen to this show and shove it in your partner's face. Yeah. Okay, that's going to develop the contempt, and then the defensiveness, and then further stonewalling. It
might already be there, so it might not be received very well.
Right. So we have to kind of figure out, okay, how are we going to lay this out? And Gottman talks about how the importance of gentleness.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gentle
how we
startup.
lay this down, because this could blow up in our face.
Yeah. Or, I mean, again, don't look at them and say, you've been contemptuous to me. Maybe it's like, hey, honey, I realize we need help.
Yeah.
And there is help out there. And I know of this place, or I've got this counselor that we can talk to. You know, hon, this verse has been really heavy on my heart, and I really think it applies to what we're talking about today. It comes out of John chapter 3, which John 3:16, you know, God so loved the world, he gave his own one and only son. But John 3:19 is also Jesus's words, and I believe there's just as powerful because it talks about light and darkness. The things that we talked about today, hon, are very dark, are very heavy. And it says here, the verdict is light has come into the world, but men loved darkness instead of light because their deeds were evil. Everyone who does evil hates the light and will not come into the light for fear that their deeds will be exposed. But whoever lives by the truth comes into the light so that it may be seen plainly that what he has done has been done through God. Like God has some light, some hope, some help that is available. And it wants to shine into that darkness. He wants to help you come into the light. And that is where you're going to find peace and freedom and hope and help. But you can't stay in the dark.
The truth is, God wants your marriage to succeed.
Yes.
That's the truth.
Yes.
The lie is that Satan says it can't.
Exactly.
It can't survive because you're messed up. And so we have to run from it. Mm-hmm. But the truth is, God doesn't want any part of that. The truth also is that you have it within your abilities to open up your heart and start to see how God can work on you. We talk about all the time, softening your own heart. I mean, you have to, think about this. If you're stonewalling, you're not softening your heart. Yeah. Those two can't go together at the same time. You're hardening your heart. Yeah. So understanding first, okay, I need to start breaking down that stone wall and let that heart open up. And you would be shocked. It's really cool when you see a couple do that. And they just go, man, we haven't talked this well to each other in the last 40 years.
That's what keeps me going, man. That's what keeps me going. You know, and if this show wasn't for you, if God laid this on your heart or put this in front of you for someone else that's close to you and that you love and that you're worried about, maybe it's an adult child, maybe it's a friend or a family member, then I would really ask you to pray about how to approach them, because 2 Corinthians chapter 2:16 says that to some we are the fragrance of life, but to others we are the stench of death. And so some people are not going to receive what you're trying to share with them, and they may not be ready for help. But I'm just telling you that for some, God is going to use you in a mighty way, use the show in a mighty way to help them avoid a horrible train wreck and to stay in that darkness any longer.
Absolutely. So this week was called Predictors of Disaster. Next week, Masters of Disaster. We are going to talk about how you master and take care of the disaster that's sitting in front of you, okay? So what do the masters do? What do the people do that get it right, okay? And chances are they didn't read it in a book. Chances are there was a lot of naturalness that came, and there were some things that were just within them, a desire. But mechanically, we talk about this all the time, mechanically, if I can get somebody to see how to fix something, it may not be very natural at first, but if we recognize it, we can learn to fix it and start new practices, new behaviors, new habits that before you know it, you become a master.
Yeah, and it brings hope into your marriage and your family. So as we close today, we just want to thank again our sponsors, Maxwell Construction and Casey's Outdoor Solutions, for their support, and for Rock Solid Radio and Rock Solid Families. This is such an important show, and we hope you'll share it with your family and friends. Hun, you want to close us out?
Yeah, so we want to again thank everybody for listening to Rock Solid Radio, building a stronger community, one family at a time. Make it a great day. Wait, is that the song?
No.
Oh, and I don't ever do anything right. I always mess up. Rock Solid Radio wants to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions. Casey's is a premier garden center and gift shop located in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. They offer a wide selection of high-quality plants, landscaping materials, and home decor. They do amazing high-quality work and can help you transform your indoor and outdoor living spaces into something beautiful. So stop by Casey's Outdoor Solutions today and let them know you appreciate their support for Rock Solid Radio. Visit Casey's today at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana.